Hello and welcome to Daily Reflection with Aneel Aranha. Today is the 8th of October 2018. We're going to reflect on Luke 10:25 to 37. Listen. There was a scholar of the law who stood up to test Jesus and said, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? How do you read it?" He said in reply, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." Jesus replied to him, "You have answered correctly. Do this and you will live." But because he wanted to justify himself, he said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man fell victim to robbers as he went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. They stripped and beat him and went off, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down that road, but when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. Likewise, a Levite came to the place, and when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. But a Samaritan traveler who came upon him was moved with compassion at the sight. He approached the victim, poured oil and wine over his wounds, and bandaged them. Then he lifted him up on his own animal, took him to an inn, and cared for him. The next day he took out 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper with the instruction, 'Take care of him. If you spend more than what I have given you, I shall repay you on my way back.' Which of these 3, in your opinion, was neighbor to the robber's victim?" He answered, "The one who treated him with mercy." Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." The Gospel of the Lord. This is an amazing story because at a given time and in a given situation, we are all the characters in this story. We are firstly the injured person on the road, left helpless and dying by the robber of our souls, who is Satan. Jesus is the Good Samaritan who stops to nurse us back to life, depositing us at the inn, which is the church, and entrusting us into the care of the innkeeper, who is the pastor or priest whose duty it is to take care of the injured, weak and helpless, nursing them back to health and wholeness. Hopefully the innkeeper does a good job because he is going to be called to account for what he did. The Good Samaritan, that is Jesus, says, "Take care of him, and when I come back, I will repay you whatever more you spend." And there is an implicit threat here too that is often missed. Where there is a reward for a job well done, there is also punishment for a job that's not. And if the innkeeper doesn't look after the wounded person entrusted into his care, he will get just deserts. "When I come back," says the Good Samaritan. Now, we don't remain injured forever. We eventually recover, and once we get to our feet again, we become the traveler on the road, encountering others who are injured and left for dying on a daily basis. Only if we truly understand that the person lying there, dying, was in the same position we were not too long ago, we run the risk of being the first 2 characters who walk down the road. The priest, who knows and teaches his faith but doesn't practice it, or the Levite, who knows and teaches all the rules but doesn't follow them. If, however, we understand what Jesus has done for us, we can only look upon others in a similar situation with compassion, and then we will become like the Good Samaritan, not letting the threat of danger getting in our way of helping others, instead of taking the traditional approach of not getting involved. The Samaritan in the story was aware of the dangers of the road that he traveled. It was not called the way of blood for nothing. Read up about that. He must have surely wondered if the robbers were still around waiting for another victim, but he took the risk nonetheless. Christians are asked to take risks. "No one has greater love than this," Jesus said, "than to lay his life down for his friends or his neighbors." He didn't let business or busyness get in his way either. He obviously had places to go, people to meet, things to do, but he had his priorities right. The life of a man was infinitely more valuable than anything he might have had on his plate. So, brothers, sisters, who are you going to drop off at the inn today? God bless you.